Name for the record, sir?
Dan Troy. On the resolution, first of all, the transfer of the license, the liquor license, I urge council to oppose that. I wanted to come last week to even oppose the amending of the ordinance for the fine arts fest. Mr. Barrett seems to put up an argument here that, at least for the fiesta, I saw it in the paper, Mr. Barrett can't escape this. There's never been a problem. Well, how can you prove that? You have, I mean, we have an alcohol and drug problem in this city that's getting pretty out of hand. And I think to add to this I don't object to a business coming in here and opening a restaurant, that's fine. So why do they have to serve booze? We have enough bars as I see it, and for your comment that we never had any incidents, I guess you were talking about the fine art fiesta. You don't know that for sure, because just because you don't have an incident down here, guy can go home and God knows what, maybe abuse his wife, or even become a drunk driver and become a statistic. I know this is a pie in the sky thing, but I would urge council to vote against this. On the properties, I hope somebody has a comment on that at least. The property sale for the two parcels, I just wondered, maybe the mayor could comment on this. How was this price of $2,500 to $1,500 arrived at? And how was this seems to be so underhanded, and pardon my criticism here, Mayor, but there seems to be a lot of this has gone on during your administration, maybe not an excessive amount, but here and there, properties being sold to people without any open discussion or open bidding on this. First of all, this price seems to be, I'm not a real estate expert, but $2,500 for a parcel of property at $1,500, I have a feeling if I wanted to buy these properties, they'd probably be 5 times as much. Why couldn't you give the public a little bit more of a shot at these properties? And how did you arrange for these properties to be sold already? I'd just like to know. The intermodal transportation thing here, just agreement with the model properties. I'd also like to know how that $40,000 a year was arrived at. Was that an arbitrary figure that you and Mr. Amato agreed at? And I assume that he's renting space here for his tenants, I guess, in those loft apartments, because he owns that whole section of the building there, of the property. I would propose that that the council take a close look at that $40,000 to see if it's enough. Because it seems to me 5 years is a hell of a long time for spaces to be rented out for this gentleman. I mean, I know, okay, he owns the building and he deserves some space, but he's a multi-millionaire. I think that perhaps more money can be gotten out of this than $40,000. And the rest of this, I guess is pretty straightforward. But I would like I would hope for some comment on those points that I made.
That is Mr. Clerk?
That's it.
As far as the real estate transfers, Mike, I do believe they're on the website. Some of these properties that are buying it, they're small, non-buildable lots.
I can't hear you, Mayor. I'm sorry.
They're small buildable lots, Sam, and non-buildable lots. And the adjacent property owners buying it, I believe their property tax have not been paid on. They've been abandoned property, they've been slighted or blighted property. And the adjacent property owners paying is a fair market value based on the size of the lot. As far as the theater, it's a deal that we consulted with the parking professional, and it's from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. to 8 p.m. to 2 a.m. and it's $40,000 annually, not $40,000 over 5 years. So we feel that we got a very good deal there. I appreciate your concern, though.
Well, how about on this property? May I just ask one quick question since I have. Again, why can't you put this out in the open? Why does this have to be done?
Did you hear what I just said?
Was there a bidding process on these properties?
Are you interested in it?
What's that?
Are you interested in it?
Yeah, well, I might know somebody who is.
It was on the
We've
website.
already arranged the sale of it, right? Am I correct, or am I being oblivious here?
They were on the website, and they were the only bids received.
You have to go on the website to determine. Okay, well, it's just another instance if you ask me a lack of transparency on your part.
Mr. Troy's paper's on, thank you. Anybody else?
Mayor, on the comments on the cafe, you were talking about two different things, the Fine Arts Guest, and I believe the City Cafe. And the City Cafe, if you haven't had a chance, go look at the one in Scranton. It's almost a boilerplate of the one that they're putting in here. They do sell some beer, but it's not their primary business. It's not a bar, there's no bar inside there, and you can go to Wegmans and buy beer. So if your argument is a little bit moot there as far as...
You're adding to the problem, Mr. Perry.
So anyway, so take a look at that if you want to see what it looks like.
Take a look at what, Wegmans?
The City Cafe in Scranton, which is basically what we're going to have.
I don't care about Scranton personally.
10. No back and forth.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Sorick. Name for the record, please, sir.
Good evening, Frank Sorick, City of Wilkes-Barre. As far as what Sam had stated on the parcels of properties, I do, in my line of business, I do a lot of foreclosures, vacant land sales, and listings throughout the city. And although these prices do seem a little bit low, I do believe this is in the city's best interest to approve these sales, put them back on the tax rolls, simply because in the best case scenario in our current market, we would be looking at between $5,000, maybe $10,000 for a buildable lot anywhere in the city of Wilkes-Barre, with the exception to certain neighborhoods. But for the most part, I do believe that, like I said, I think the bids are a little low, but being that they were advertised on the city's website, I would urge council to go ahead with the sale, simply because it does put these back on the tax rolls and we will start generating revenue for the city. So in that aspect, I don't think 2,500 or 1,500 is drastically low, being that in a fair market today, we would be looking at about 5,000 in a good market. So with that, as far as the parking garage 5-year lease, to me it looks like a good deal, and I'm sure you guys all looked at this, and maybe my question you guys asked at Tuesday night's council meeting, but how many spaces are we talking about? And if it just seems like those off-peak hours, again, it seems like a good deal, $250,000 for 5 years, and they're, am I right?
$200,000.
Oh, $200,000, I was trying to up it a little bit, so. But at any rate, $40,000 a year, how many spaces are we talking about? That's my only question on that, because to me, I mean, it seems like it's a good deal locking in that and having a guaranteed customer for 5 years. So, that's
In and out, it's moviegoers.
Oh, it's the...
This is for the movie theater.
Oh, well then I would urge council to please approve that. We don't want to lose
From 8
the
p.m. to 2 a.m.
Very good. Okay, thank you.
Anybody else on current legislation this evening? Oh, I'm sorry. Come on up, sir.
My name is,
Name for the record, sir?
it's Todd Ankowitz, and I, along with my family, reside at 98 North Franklin Street, and we are here to ask
This is on the
that...
agenda. This is on the agenda.
It's not on the agenda?
It's on the agenda.
Yeah, we'll speak about it.
Okay.
Go ahead, sir.
We are asking that the downtown parking restrictions and permits be amended, as we only have one designated space, and we'd actually just like to purchase some permits, but the downtown parking permits is only south of Market Street, is my understanding. And we're asking council to extend that north so that we can actually purchase permits to park in front of our own homes. So I would, I'm not sure of the actual resolution number.
Well, it's on here, and we're going to be voting on it in a few minutes.
Excellent. We would just ask for that consideration. There are 5 of us who grew up in Wilkes-Barre, live in Wilkes-Barre, work in Wilkes-Barre, but can't park in our own home without the hassle of parking meters. I don't know if council has that same problem at their homes, but we would just ask for your assistance and consideration in this to generate some revenue for the city and allow us to park.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Okay.
I got 2 things though. They're recognizing armed forces day, acknowledging our police officers, firefighters, and mention EMTs too. The veterans, police officers, firefighters, and EMTs.
Sure. I didn't catch the EMTs last meeting.
Yeah. And the other thing is vote on the Northeast Inspection Service separately. Because I voted against the contract, so I'm gonna vote against you gotta give them the room.
We should do this one, we should do those one first.
Right. Before we continue though, Mr. Tony George's request, I do have one comment. The resolution relative to Penn Eastern Engineers, which was reviewed and discussed at Tuesday's work session, has been removed from this agenda, just so you're all aware of it, pending further review. The administration decided to pull the resolution because they may be altering the scope of the project and would rather wait until they have more detailed parameters of the scope adjustment. So that is not on the agenda, it was on Tuesday's agenda. Okay, so per Mr. Tony George's request, we're going to take the resolution regarding entering into a lease agreement with Northeast Inspection Services to use an area located in the building inspector's office to perform their contracted services. That will be voted on separate from the consent agenda. Motion second and vote is needed.
That motion.
Second.
Okay. Mr. George Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Tony George?
Is this for the separating it? or-
This is the
No.
first one.
I'm sorry, I thought it was, you made a motion to separate.
You seconded it, right?
Yeah, I know.
All you have to do is request it if you separate it. That's what you did.
Okay.
So you don't have to make a motion.
Okay.
Mrs. Lavelle?
What are we voting on now?
That's what
We're
it
voting on the Northeast.
The lease agreement with the city for the office space.
Yes.
Can I rescind my second, or is that too late?
It's up to the chairperson.
You still can't.
You can rescind it if you want.
No, rescind my second.
Anybody want to second the motion?
Okay. So, Mr. George Brown, you're still in the affirmative. Mr. Tony George?
No.
Nay. Mrs. Lavelle is yea. Mr. Barrett?
Yes.
And Mr. Merritt?
Yes.
Motion passes 4-1. Okay, next we have the consent agenda, ordinance, resolutions. Motion second and vote. George Brown? A second. Bill? Okay, Mr. George Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Tony George?
Yes.
Mrs. Lavelle?
Yes.
Mr. Barrett?
Yes.
And Mr. Merritt?
Yes.
Motion passes also. And last is the consent agenda ordinances. Motion second and vote. Motion is Mike. And second. Maureen. Mr. George Brown.
Yes.
Mr. Tony George.
Yes.
Mrs. Lavelle.
Yes.
Mr. Barrett.
Yes.
Mr. Merritt.
Yes.
Motion passes also.
Okay. Mr. George, have any comments this evening? Mrs. Lavelle?
Mr. Brown?
Yeah, I would like to ask if it would be possible to look at a possible limitation on smoking within the intermodal to reduce it to no closer than 100 feet to the buses that are entering and leaving. As people enter buses and leave buses, I'd like to see if it'd be possible to create a 100-foot void there when people cannot smoke in that area. Mr. Vince, is that possible to do that?
We're going to look at that. It is, what we want to do is typically get the information from Mart's, set the parameters up, where the 100 foot is going to be set up. So we'll take some looking into everything.
Can you look into that?
Absolutely.
That's all I have.
Okay, Mr. Barrett?
The only thing I have is, I just failed to mention on Tuesday about the vacant property registry for everyone's benefit is active on the website now. And I know that according to Andrew, it's being populated, so if you do have a vacant property that you're concerned about, it's in your neighborhood, you can go to the city's website and it's right on the front page, it's listed under the Community Champions. Click on that and enter the information on the property. Of course, if there's a real problem for you, an immediate problem, of course, let us know. But also, that this is where we're going to populate the database of vacant properties so that you comply with the existing ordinances that pertain to them. So you can go on the website there, put the information in there yourself, and it'll be added to the list and it will be followed up on. So I just want to let everybody know that it is live. I know that there's already quite a few entries already in there, and it gives us a way of tracking these vacant properties and making sure that they are conforming to the existing ordinances. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Berry. Last call for speaker forms. Are they all in? Okay. Frank Sorick, please.
Just a couple of quick things. I'll be brief this evening. I'm here asking council if they concluded their investigation that I had requested into, and I know Mr. Brown had stated he was currently looking into the towing fees that are currently being charged, in particular the car lot that was charged over $2,000. I would like to know if we've gotten to the bottom of that, if we have a copy of the receipt. I would like to get a copy of that if available. And also with mention to the no smoking ban that you had requested, I believe, and Mr. Visco could probably let us know, I would believe the way the Pennsylvania Clean Air Act is written, that should cover it. It's 20 feet, you have to be 20 feet from the entrance to any public building. Intermodal would qualify as a public building, so there should be no smoking inside the parking garage, period, under Pennsylvania's Clean Air Act. So that should cover whether buses load and unload. We would just let our officers know to uphold Pennsylvania Clean Air Act. That's all I have.
Mr. Brown, you have any comments on that?
Yeah, well, let me get to the second one first. The reason why I brought that up today, Frank, is I've had residents ask me about this. And originally, I had looked into the possibility of just limiting smoking altogether in Intermodal, and it doesn't seem like that's something that we can enforce. So the next best thing, I think, would be to limit it for 100 feet. So at least people that don't smoke don't have to walk through a path of people that are smoking, entering, and standing around the buses. So
I couldn't agree more.
I'm going to see, let's see what Mr. Brinsko can look into, and it's just something I'd like to look into, but hopefully, we can see what can be done there. Yeah, I did look into the towing operation, and I was told that there were multiple vehicles that were used in that, and actually the gentleman did tell me exactly how many vehicles. That was about, I think about a month ago when I talked about that. And actually, there was some problems with one of the vehicles that he actually utilized. So there was a lot that was involved in that. I'll be glad to talk to you, and get more details. But I did look into it, and I did follow up, and there was several vehicles. There was actually some vehicles that other tow companies did not have that large a vehicle that was necessary or to get into because it was in a wooded area, rather being told. So there is different variables here.
Okay.
But, you and I talked several times, and I'll be glad to get more information for you.
I appreciate it.
From what I did hear, it was a location, the actual equipment that had to be utilized, the way that it had to be utilized, and the number of vehicles that had to be utilized.
Okay. I appreciate that. Thank you, Councilman.
Thank you, Mr. Sorick. Robert Fountain?
Good evening, everyone. Mr. Mayor, I can't speak for the residents. I live in Wilkes-Barre City. I lived here since 1980, and I live and work in the city. I can't speak for the residents of Wilkes-Barre City, but I'm thoroughly disgusted. In March of last year, I called a member of council and asked if he could give me a list of the problems facing the city of Wilkes-Barre. After several weeks, I received no callback or written list of the issues I asked for. I called again several weeks later and I was told that it was mentioned to members of council during or before a council meeting and was shown no interest in answering the request. I'm still waiting for that list. The question for all the residents who vote in Wilkes-Barre is how can these office seekers attempt to tackle the problems of the city next year when they won't admit what the problems are now or have done nothing about them? I could have provided my own list. Drug-related crime, crumbling streets, sinking drain catch basins, weeds overgrown in gutters and road partitions, empty storefronts, plunging appraisals. My own dropped 25% in the last 5 years, despite major improvements to my home. Bloated salaries, and the most important to many of us, neglect of the non-downtown sections of the city. Our reward for enduring these problems, a 129% increase in our city taxes since 2002, due to an ever-declining tax base fueled by KOZ properties and nonprofits, a $92 million debt, but an improved credit rating to borrow more. This is the list I asked for, but got nothing. Cole Street was nicely paved, I'll admit that, so shoppers can drive up to the township and patronize new businesses like Popeyes, Moe's, and Longhorn Steakhouse. Is anyone coming down to Wilkes-Barre City? If any members of this administration have dreams of higher positions in City Hall, is this the record they have to run on? Who should we blame for this? The mayor? Council? Voters? You can decide on Tuesday. And you've heard this before. Choose carefully. Finally, in order that all the residents of the city can get to hear these thoughts, I've sent this to the editors of both local newspapers, so it should be in the letters to the editors very soon. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, sir. James Walsh. Name for the record, sir.
Jim Walsh.
Yes, sir.
Council members, and in particular, Mayor Leighton, do you plan to make a public appeal to the citizens of Wilkes-Barre and the business community to recognize the sacrifices of millions of Americans who sacrificed to protect our nation and honor them on Memorial Day by the display of our nation's flag, or just the same ho-hum attitude you've displayed throughout your 11 plus years as mayor of the city of Wilkes-Barre? If you decide to make that appeal, will it be done with dignity and public recognition of what's taking place instead of the Department of Public Works hanging the flags like the Monday morning wash? President Holiday's, I have a plaque here, I'm going to give to you, Mayor Leighton. It's a list of the prominent holidays that the flag suggested to be displayed. Put this in your office, reference it, and do it. Call upon the community to recognize these sacrifices, not only of veterans, but citizens throughout our whole history. It's been shamefully neglected throughout your whole administration. Now, you'll bring up some things that you've done, but on the overall picture, baloney. Another issue I want to present is the fact that you, Mayor, took it upon yourself to have an alarm system in your home at taxpayers' expense with the explanation your life was threatened. Is your life more valuable than mine or anybody else in this room? Mayor, the officers standing here at each council meeting and fellow police officers, lives are threatened every day they put on their uniform. The city doesn't pay for an alarm system in their homes. Many of the citizens' lives are threatened every day in the high crime area of the city. I have an alarm system in my home, and I was robbed. Prior to its being installed,
I pay for my alarm system, and then you have the nerve to charge me through my taxes for your system? In addition to us paying for your alarm system, we were charged $30,000 for an investigation into putting gas in your personal vehicle. Again, at the taxpayer's expense. Why did you think you were entitled to both these programs at our expense? Your area of responsibility is a little over 7 square miles. The last 10 years of my employment, I drove 50 miles 5 days a week, adding to 250 miles a week. Did you travel that much per day? If so, how? When are you in your office and driving around the city? Your alleged explanation for using city gas in your personal vehicle was due to no policy in effect preventing you from taking that gas. I disagree, Mayor. There is a policy, and that policy is honesty. With your salary by the taxpayers, plus your private business income, I have no doubt you could pay for your own gas and your alarm system. As you know, the medical profession has been unable to find a cure for cancer. There's another disease also where a cure has not been found, and that disease is greed. It's been growing in leaps and bounds for generations. There's no limit for the greedy. That greed has been displayed throughout our city and county. We've had high-ranking legal persons using children for their greed. Included was a multi-millionaire. So you see, there's no limit to these people. Greed, greed, greed. Mayor Leighton, I strongly urge you to reimburse we the taxpayers the money taken from us. Nothing less is acceptable. Your bill is long overdue. I've asked you questions after questions at these council meetings, and you refuse to answer. Now start answering some of these questions honestly.
Mr. Walsh, are you done with your presentation, sir?
What's that?
Are you done with your presentation?
Yes.
Mayor, would you choose to comment?
No.
See what I mean?
Thank you.
Mum's the word. And right here, none of you will respond either, because he's got you in his back pocket. Mum's the word. I'd be ashamed to sit like that.
All right, Mr. Walsh.
Jim Burden? Name for the record, sir.
Jim Burden, Heights section of Wilkes-Barre. This goes out to the mayor. Mr. Mayor, this matter was brought to my attention about Cole Street Park. Okay, you had officials over there that kicked off the Cosmos soccer team, the under-8 soccer team. Okay, the baseball field's not being used, and they got kicked off. Okay, the coaches, the parents, and the kids were all upset about this. Don't look that way, you know all about it. Okay, okay, so they got kicked off of there. Then they turned around and they had to leave the field because they were told to get out of there. Okay, now they've been playing soccer at that field for 30 years. Now, second of all, I had another parent call me, and she was from the Skyhawks. And she told me that you told her that there's no business having a second team. There's no business having a second soccer team club in the city of Wilkes-Barre. And, you know, because she asked you, why can't we have police come through Cole Street and look out for them? And you told her that we don't need a second soccer club in the city of Wilkes-Barre. We already have one. And your kids played for that team. Why did you have to tell her something like that? You know, I mean, there's just simple little problems, you know? Okay, that Cole Street field over there is for the kids. That whole park, not just for GAR. You told that lady that GAR pays to use that baseball field over there. Well, let me tell you something. That clubhouse was built by the Heights Cubs, and I was one of the guys that built it. And Mr. George, you know, we built that, the Cubs. Yushki is turning over in his grave right now, okay? The way it's deplorable. If GAR pays taking some of the money right now and fixing the clubhouse, the roof is deplorable there. It's leaking, everything. So let's get some, why don't we get some money together, fix that clubhouse down there for them kids to have something to use down there. I mean, we used our backbone and we built that clubhouse down at Cole Street. And now it looks like hell, okay? So don't tell women that there's no need for a second soccer club. Don't tell them that GAR pays to use that field. Let's get together. Let's get Cole Street straightened out for they can have a field down there. Let's build them a soccer field at Cole Street. We got all that land down there. Nobody's using backfield of Cole 4. How about where you were going to put that ice rink, that $1 million outdoor ice rink? Why don't we take that, make that a soccer field, a practice field for them at least? Let's do something. We have nothing for these kids from the Heights and Mayflower. Let's give them something. Keep them off the streets. These kids have been playing soccer and everything. These kids are trying to stay off the street. The parents are involved with this soccer. And if we get them involved with the soccer, maybe we can get them back playing baseball back up in the Heights and Mayflower. So this is what we need to do. If you get the kids involved, you get the parents involved. You get the parents involved, that means the drugs start coming off the street. So let's stop all the BS and let's get everything back in order. Let's build a field for the soccer. Let's build a practice field for the soccer. If you want to take Morgan B and make that a soccer field, practice field for the Cosmos or the Skyhawks, let's do it. Let's not sell it. Okay? Let's get together. Let's make it happen. Okay? This way there's no pushing, there's no shoving. People saying you can't go on this field. It belongs to the baseball. No. It's a park. It belongs to the city of Wilkes-Barre. It belongs to the taxpayers. Not to some city official coming down there and saying, you play soccer, you're not allowed here. Get out. You know? Because it's a baseball field, and when the little 8-year-old kids were over there playing in right field, that can't tear up a piece of grass with their hands, and they get kicked out of there, nah, that doesn't happen. That is not gonna happen. Not on my watch. I coached for 16 years baseball, and I'll tell you what, I never treated a kid like that and never will. And for some official to go and tell a kid that, if I knew his name, I would be right in his face. So, please, Mr. Mayor, don't ever tell a woman that again. No, I have it on my phone. Don't shake your head telling me that you never told that woman that, because I have it on my phone.
What's her,
Oh, okay, Mr. Bernie.
what's her name, Jim?
Yeah.
I've never spoken to a woman about that. Give me her name,
I will not give you her name.
then you're not being truthful then.
I'm not being truthful. I'll give you her name in private. I'll give it to you in private.
I never spoke to a lady about that. All right, let's get that straight.
Okay.
That's number one. Number two, never made a comment about the police. The police know what they're doing. They're up there. Number three, I never made a comment about two groups. We encourage youth sports throughout the city. Yes, Jim, we do. All right?
Okay.
Four, it's baseball season. It's no different than during soccer season. A baseball team wants to use a soccer facility. We would not allow it. It's baseball season right now. When baseball season's over,
They're done.
Jim, the season just ended.
Right, they just went on the field the other day and it was done.
There's playoff games. Jim, playoff games, all right? It would not be fair to the soccer group if we allowed a baseball team to go out there and play baseball in the middle of soccer season.
There was nobody on the field. There were
Jim, the
8-year-old
season is
kids.
still going on. What don't you understand? The season is still going on.
All right.
All right, so do you agree it would not be fair for a baseball team to go start playing baseball during soccer season, right in the middle of the field?
They wasn't in the middle of the field. They were on the right field line with nobody there. There was no teams practicing, playing, or anything. There were
Are you talking
8-year-old
about
kids.
fenced field?
In the fenced-in field, yes.
The season is still going on.
Okay.
Mike, why are you letting this go on? You don't let me
Mr.
go down.
Kadluboski.
Well, stop
All right.
Thank you.
it. Stop.
All right. But I do have it on my
I
phone.
will take it.
Thank you, Mr.
Okay.
Bernie.
All right.
Bob Kadluboski.
First of all, I take great offense to this man what things he said. We have an excellent city going here. We have drug dealers, we have people robbing houses, which adds to construction. We have people murdered, which keeps the funeral homes going. We have the emergency rooms, going, plus all this, the house, the copper that gets stolen. So, I mean, we do have business, you follow me? But it's like, murders and drive-by shootings keeps the...
Mr. Kadluboski, you want to speak to council?
Well, I am. I just don't want to be ignorant to this man. I mean, he makes statements here.
That's when you're speaking.
Why are you interrupting me?
Because you're being disruptive.
I'm not being disruptive. I'm trying to make a point
Face
here.
us and make your point, sir.
Okay, what I'm saying is the man, I think, is wrong. We have a great drug trade here. We have murders, number 18 in the country. We just had another murder. So I think, it is actually helping the economy. He's right, everybody does go out of town. So, I mean, for him to say that, I think he's wrong. With the drug trade here, that's like big business. But I would like to ask, would somebody, maybe you, Mr. Brown, because you're going to be a big businessman.
Mr. Kadluboski, address council.
I am, but I'm just asking him to do something. Mr. Brown.
Go ahead.
Mr. Brown, I'm asking you to make the motion, and I'm asking you, Mr. Barrett, to second it, to sue the mayor over the money. You got to understand something. The city was warned in 2009 not to continue doing that, and they kept going. That's why we got hit with the big fine. He's incompetent. He did it. He was told not to do it. So why don't you, Mr. Brown, make the motion, you second it, and you'll have enough votes, and sue. Get somebody to come in here and sue him for the money. The other thing I want to do is, I made contact with Crime Stoppers, and I'm just waiting for the police to fill the paper out, and they're going to put a $2,000 reward up for the execution murder of Don Bachman. I'm asking council, maybe you could add like $2,000 or $3,000 to that, because money talks, and maybe we could get to the end of that murder. I mean, I'm sure there's money in the budget, or maybe you could put some money up yourselves. And we got to get to the bottom of this, because that man, all he was doing was trying to help his citizens, and I know how dangerous it is to take on these drug dealers and stuff. But I think you should help put a reward up to maybe somebody will come forward, because the family's devastated, people that know him are devastated, and that was an execution-style murder. They laid in wait and blew the guy away. Another thing I want to know is, Mr. Brown, you're a councilman.
Mr. Kadluboski.
But you're not letting me talk.
City issues, please.
I am, but I want to know
It's
this.
nothing to do with the election, no election.
Hold it. I want to know how that man as a councilman could use the city insignias and take pictures of our police officers and put them in for political use. That's what he's doing. Who gave you permission to do that? And another thing is, Mr. Brown, when you talk about you're such a big businessman, you have sat here, and along with you, Mr. Barrett, and you, Mr. Merritt, and rubber stamped everything that man over there, Tom Leighton, did. Everything. And the problem is, I know I get loud a lot of times, and it's just frustration, that's all it is. But you people have sat here and done nothing. When I bought the corruption in the police department, the booze parties, the illegal gratuities they were given, nothing. And Mr. Brown, you're going to be a business, you're going to run it like a business like this guy did, where everybody that gave him tens of thousands of dollars, the towers, suddenly get the towing? And Mr. Brown, when you're talking about the towing, I never blame Falzone and I'll never blame Arleo. But it's the people that get their cars towed. You tell me how I was able to, in 8 years, the most expensive tow I had was $250. You charge the person that gets their car towed, and you sat here like the dunce that you are, along with that dunce.
That's enough, Mr. Kadluboski.
Hold it, and Mr. Vinsco, who was an idiot, who cost the city hundreds of thousands of dollars. No, I'm not, I'm just trying to say that.
You are. I'm tired of hearing it, Bob. It's the same story. Bob Kadluboski had the towing contract.
Why are you interrupting me? Now, I want more time. Now, Mr. Vinsco is the one who sat and wrote that contract. And look what it's cost. Look what it's cost. And not one of you spineless, gutless cowards have enough backbone.
That's enough. I have enough backbone to throw you out.
No, you don't have enough backbone. Why don't you come over here and do it? Because you are a coward.
Yeah, all right.
A coward.
That's enough now.
But what did I do? I'm trying to talk.
See, Mr. Kevin.
No, listen. All right. But he's the one who wrote the contract. Why?
Because.
It's the truth. He's a coward. He's a thief.
Let's
All right, well, he's a thief.
Don't go.
Well, then why did I bring a trip to court if I was wrong? They paid me $250,000.
Sam Troy, please.
And how about, would you make that motion?
Oh, I did my pen. All right.
I got them all ripped up for you now. And you better watch yourself talking about that. We're doing good business. Look at all the funerals. Good night. I pledge dreams to you.
Name for the record, Mr. Troy.
Sam Troy. First of all, I have a question again. The mayor just walked out. That was convenient. But maybe somebody could refer this question to him. About the pension fund, I went to a kind of a rally one night sponsored by the Downtown Merchants Association, Downtown Residents Association, sorry. And that kind of question seemed persistent about, maybe some of you people can answer this. Mr. Brown, you're aspiring to be mayor, and this is an important question. The pension fund gap, how underfunded is the pension fund? The mayor has conveniently evaded this issue. He said, this is what I saw in the paper. Anyway, Mr. Brown, I know how Mr. George would answer this. That's why I don't have to ask him, but I don't know where you stand in it. How much underfunded is the pension fund, and what can we do to resolve the situation? I think this is an important question for you in your campaign in the remaining days, to try to resolve this question. It is, I don't know what the gap is. Maybe the mayor can fill us in on it, because he is very evasive about it. The paper, as I said, only indicated that he said, we're in very good shape. We're not in bad shape, or something to that effect. Well, that doesn't sit well by me. I'm a taxpayer, and I think I've been, over the last 11 years of this man's administration, I've been, as a taxpayer, abused and exploited to the nth degree. And I think, this is just my own feeling, Mr. Brown, that under your tenure, if you're lucky enough to get in there, that this exploitation is going to continue. I just have a funny feeling. But maybe the mayor can fill us in, Mayor, before you go, under what the gap, what kind of underfunding, how much underfunded is the pension fund? Another thing, a quick question, if you wouldn't mind answering, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, I guess he doesn't seem to want to respond to me. Hawkeye Systems, the takeover of that is imminent by the city, I think. And I was just wondering how much debt the city is going to assume over that. I know that right now the contracts for the cameras, the surveillance cameras are, I guess Hawkeye still has. I'm not too clear on that situation. I don't know, maybe there's somebody council that fill me on that. I do have one proposal that I thought the mayoral candidates might be interested in. This gentleman brought up a very critical point in general about urban blight. And you know the symptoms of this, right, Mrs. Lavelle? There's a lot of these up in your area in the Heights. And Ms. Gilbert, if you're lucky enough to get on council, you'll be faced with this problem. We have deteriorating properties, dilapidating properties, vacant properties, rising crime rate. We have the value, property values declining. We also have, I mentioned higher crime rate. A higher tax rate, of course. Taxes have gone up. This gentleman claims, I thought it was only 80%, but according to him, it's 100%. We have a very high debt in this city, although the mayor seems to kind of evade that issue as well. I have one proposal in the time remaining that I wonder if there will be some comment on. I would like to try to the county recently rescinded the Homestead Act exemption of $10,000, the first $10,000 on any property. I wonder if anybody on council would be interested in restoring that $10,000 on the municipal level for, let's say, just senior citizens, 65 years or older, who are having a hard time making ends meet, in order to encourage them, in order to induce them to hang on to their properties. I know it's only one factor. When you get older, it's hard to maintain a property, but taxes are one major factor in the reason why we have more and more vacant properties, more and more dilapidated properties, because people cannot hold on to their homes. Tax rates are just too high. They're on limited incomes, Mr. Brown. I'm on Social Security and I have a part-time job. That's all I got. I'm trying to hang on to my home. We have a very high foreclosure rate, as you know. This might go a long way to alleviating a tax burden which has been, which is overdue. But, 11 years we've been suffering under this man's, what he considers to be a successful administration, which I consider to be very unsuccessful. And at the time remaining, Mr. Mayor and council members, I'd like to humbly petition council. I know the possibility of suing the mayor over this Gasgate situation is almost non-existent. because it was, Mr. George made that motion, it wasn't even seconded last time. But I would like to encourage council to just perhaps make a motion to ask, to ask the mayor and the other parties who are complicit in this, whoever they may be, to come forward and compensate the city with no admission of guilt, just because it's the right thing to do. Mayor, you have a sense of ethics, don't you? I think you do. You sleep at night. All your people on council have a sense of ethics. What is the right thing to do here? It is to compensate the taxpayer for that gas that's missing. If I go into a gas station and take gas, 10 gallons of gas or whatever, and I leave without paying, what's going to happen to me, Mr. Mayor? I'll be arrested.
30 seconds, Mr. Troy.
I appreciate that. I would like to see somebody on council have the courage, just that if this is, I guess this is within the realm of legal feasibility, right, Mr. Minsko, to just formally ask, to formally petition the mayor to compensate the taxpayers, to put money back in the general, not just you, Mayor, but whoever else was complicit in this. You won't even have to admit any wrongdoing, but I think it's the right thing to do. To compensate, we'll just take half the amount. If let's say 60,000 gallons of gas was missing, you could compensate us for 30. That's fine. I won't make any noise about it, but I'll tell you, if there's no action on this done, I'm going to talk to some lawyers and see if I can get together a class action lawsuit on a part of the residents here.
Okay.
Because this is getting out of hand.
Mr. Troy, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody care to comment on any of the issues from Mr. Troy? I'll comment on the Hawkeye systems. I don't believe there's any debt.
On the what? I'm sorry.
The Hawkeye cameras.
Yeah, what is the status of that?
That's funded by state gaming monies.
It's what?
It's funded by the state gaming monies. Regularly taken from the casino.
But the city's taking it over, right?
The city is going to be taking it over, yes.
Are we going to assume a debt or a...
I don't see any debt attached. I'm on board.
And that's all you have to say in this?
That's it. Thank you, Mr. Troy.
How about the senior citizen thing, Mr. Brown?
Mr. Barrett, go ahead.
On the pension issues, there are more than one pension fund. You're aware of that. There's multiple pension funds involving 2 of the police, and there's 2 of the fire, there's the classified.
Right.
5.
They're all underfunded, right?
Yes and no. I mean, some are.
He admitted it, they were.
Some are having a few more problems than others because some have less coming in and more going out as time goes on. But I believe that this administration has met its obligations as far as its mandatory obligations.
Where's the facts to back that up?
Mr. Troy.
I just like to see, he makes a lot of...
I'd like to see a lot
I know a little
of
bit about
back
pension funds here.
Well, can you show me the facts?
I don't have the facts in front of me. If you want to,
Okay.
we can talk about that some other time. Thank you.
I'll look forward to it.
You can certainly come to the pension fund meetings, and maybe you can get them to schedule.
In case I'm hired by the city, and you all want to retire, I'll make sure I get a...
Thank you, Mr. Troy. All right, Michael Walsh. Any further issues?
Mike Walsh. I'm not a resident of Wilkes-Barre, I'm a Hanover Township resident, but I'm Jim Walsh's son, and I've come to these meetings over the last few years to support him. And I just want to comment, like I put on my sheet, about the conduct of these meetings, how it works basically. One thing is the microphone. I see none of you use the microphones in front of you. I know this is a fairly small room, but unless you have a loud voice, you can't really hear, especially when you watch the videos on the internet that are posted. So I'd appreciate if maybe you pull the microphone closer or speak louder. Another thing is, in regards to my dad, he comes here every month, and I know he came the first time to get the flags put up again, because they used to be put up years ago. And he asked the city to pay for the flags. He said you couldn't afford that, so if you want to start your own committee, you can do that, which he did. And you put up the flags for him, which was great, and it looks nice in the city. And then all he wants now, I guess, is to come back here and ask the mayor and the council to encourage the residents of the city to fly their flag at their personal homes, I guess. And like he says, he comes here and he doesn't get any responses. It's almost like we don't know what he wants. Like, why can't any of you just say to him, Mr. Walsh, what exactly do you want? What do you want us to do? And he says to the mayor all the time, just encourage, I call the papers, call the news stations, and prior to every holiday, put it on the news, a little blip on the news, tomorrow is July 4th, the residents please fly your flags, or put it in the paper, a little small thing in the paper. There's plenty of large advertisements for the Curry Park events, of course political things, but that's, another story. And he asked, this is for the mayor, he wants him to put it in his office to remind him what days are appropriate days to fly the flag. But I guess it's just frustrating, you know, I've come here plenty of times wanting to speak. I'm a very quiet, shy type person, but sometimes I get a little bit riled up, not as bad as Bob Kadluboski, but as far as the conduct of the meeting here, I know the mayor, first of all, the format here is you have your 5 minutes and then at the end you answer questions. So this is a council meeting. It's not a mayor's meeting, I understand. So my first question would be, is the mayor required to be here, or is he just here at his own convenience to hear what's going on? If he's not required to be here, he's just here to hear what's going on, I find it disrespectful, like plenty of people have said in the past, how he sits over there and he's on his phone constantly. What is he doing on his phone? Most places you go, it says cell phones, put them on silent, put them away. And when he speaks, he doesn't speak into the microphone or stand up. And if he is required to be here, I think he should be sitting at the head table up there and answering the questions. A couple other things. Oh, the other thing is like the back and forth. You say it's not a back and forth here, which I can see that in a way, but sometimes if you come here with 10, 15 questions, it's kind of hard. Most people that come here, when they're done, you answer maybe one question, that's it. But, I mean, that's all I want to put my 2 cents in. I don't have any, like I said, I was born and raised in Wilkes-Barre, went in the military, moved out of town, now I live in Hanover, but I just came, like I said, to support my dad, and he gets frustrated. We have, you know, we're going to dinner after this, we're going to have a conversation, and it's just the same thing where he says, they don't answer my questions. Why don't they answer my questions? Maybe at the end of the meeting, stick around. He says that all you just head out the back door. Why don't you stick around and say, you know, and talk to people and answer their questions then? I don't know if it's, you don't want it on the record or what, but I'll try using my last minute if I can, but I don't think I will.
Are you done, sir?
Yeah, I guess I had more, but I should have brought notes before I came.
First of all, the mayor's not required to be here. As far as flags within the city, that's an issue that falls on the mayor's shoulders for his administration to make that happen. Council can. I mean, yes, sure, we encourage people to put up the flags, and I'm glad you're here in support of your dad, and I respect and admire his courage for coming back all the time and his love for this country. I can't tell the papers what to put in, what articles to put in. We have a newspaper guy from the Citizen's Voice right over there, and over there we have the Times Leader guy. I would hope that they put it in and ask the people to show their patriotism for those holidays and get the flags.
One last thing, if I could. I just want to comment on the gas situation too, is I remember when this broke, it was told that there was supposed to be a system in place to record the gas, but it was never installed or something. Then they had a clipboard there, and the mayor even admitted when it broke that, yeah, there's a clipboard, but I didn't sign it. So right there, to me, that's an admission of, you know, not properly recording the gas taken. As far as personal vehicle, using your, you know, do you record your miles driven? You know, when you leave your house, your personal house, to come to City Hall, that's not city business. That's, you know, I don't get gas money for my private work. Mm-hmm. If you have to leave for a fire or whatever crime scene,
nor does anybody else here.
And maybe record the hours on your personal vehicle. I mean, not the hours, the mileage, and get reimbursed. In the military, they reimburse you for the miles you drive, so many cents per mile.
At my company, you go ahead and you submit a form on where you went and how many miles you drove, then you get reimbursed for the 57.5 cents.
Exactly.
Right. Sometimes that could work against the city. It works both ways. So in any event, I thank you for coming, showing support for your dad. But again, that's a question that the mayor wants to answer that. If not, I have to respect it.
Yeah, my 2 questions is, we do send a press release. We cannot dictate if the paper's going to print the press release or not, relative to flying flag. And your dad knows that I have a big flagpole right in front of my house. So I do respect the flag. We can only request, we can only ask the paper to put it in, or to recommend that people fly their flags.
So do you pay for the advertisement?
No,
Or
we send a press release.
and the paper denied putting that in?
They only print stuff like that if there's room. And I do believe we put it on our Facebook and our website. As far as the gas, you're correct when I said I did not fill out. However, every time I did get gas up there, I would call in or I'd tell somebody that was inside the building and they failed to log it in. And I think they will testify to that if they have to, that I never pull in and pull out without telling them what I took. And believe me, it wasn't as much as people think.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you. Do you want this? Does anybody want this?
Yeah, we'll take it.
For that, right?
Todd, do you still want to speak? You're good? Okay. Angel?
Angel Mathis, Wilkes-Barre. First, I want to thank Mr. Brown for coming out and making an appearance at the senior dinner dance. And I would hope that more of the council and city administration come out in support of Wyoming County Area Agency on Aging. And I will hope to see some of you there next year. But my first issue is with parking, because the Charles C. Adams Senior Center is located on a square. Not on the square, but on East Market Street. And a few members have come to me because we recently had a few in wheelchairs and also a few amputees, recent amputees that drive. And when they drive, they have no parking, no handicap parking within the area of the senior center, and it makes it difficult for them to be there because they have to travel but so much to get to the senior center. And however, there is parking available, but there is only a loading zone. And if it's possible, can that be looked into, considering that on, I want to say South Washington, a business just totally removed the parking signs and parked there at leisure for the last 2.5 years. And another thing is, at the last PTAC meeting that we had this past Saturday, which is the Public Transportation Advisory Council, again, I was requested to come and ask that there be a smoking ban on the island, and that's where the buses port and dock out of, where people board and exit the buses. Because with the one thing that we did notice is that air is moving better now than it has in the past with the emission detectors. But however, you know, the smoking doesn't help with the buses idling. And if the smoking cannot be banned, can the city impose a littering fine for all those who are caught literally throwing their butts out? Because maybe if you find people for it, maybe they'll stop smoking or smoke responsibly. And also in that same meeting, it came up that there are several broken crossing signals throughout the city, where it's the visual crossing signals and also the auditory crossing signals, because we're having a larger visually impaired population that are catching the buses. And specifically in the Kistler-Myers area, where it's hard for them to cross, and one of the most dangerous intersections is the one on Horton and Barney. And then the last issue I have is no response from I believe she's the city special event coordinator, because she's been contacted several times over the last 2.5 months for an event, and we have yet to hear from her. And when Lori Majikis did it, she was excellent at it, but so far we're not just getting a response. So who would I go to actually get this taken care of?
Is that all your issues?
That's all my issues.
Okay, ma'am.
Angel's here after.
Okay, and as far as the crossing signal goes, Horton and Barney, Andrew, could you put that on your list to look into? And Angel, as you get them, if you want to just either call your council person or stop down City Hall and see Andrew,
Okay.
and give us a list so we can address them.
Okay.
It would make us a lot more efficient when trying to address them.
Okay.
Okay? Handicap parking, is the senior center here on the corner?
Yes.
Isn't there handicap parking spots in the parking lot?
Yeah, sure. In what parking lot?
Right.
It's right here.
Who drives?
That garage is full.
Oh, okay.
But the Intermodal's a spot, the Essential's a spot, and North is a spot. This garage is full capacity.
Okay, we will try to look into the handicap.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks. John Rushton.
All right,
Come on up, John. Name for the record.
John Rushton. Maybe the others.
No address. We got you, John.
I just want to wish everybody good luck on next Tuesday.
Thank you
That's
very much. It's been a long spring for a lot of people, so we'll see what happens on Tuesday. Okay?
George County.
Thank you. And we'll look at your Phillies.
You know,
You're on a roll. Thank you, everybody.